why are these ahadith only for Friday prayers? It could have been for every prayer, right? Talk about the virtues, but Prophet said, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he who leaves the Friday prayers continuously for 3 Fridays because of laziness, Allah will put a stamp on his heart. His heart will be sealed. Slackness is not the right translation of tahawunan. Tahawunan is out of considering it insignificant. What's the big deal? Just like we are considering Jamaat prayers as insignificant, isn't it? Otherwise, we would have made an effort to go to the masjid for every prayer. The fact that we are saying, all right, I'll pray at home, that means that we are considering Jamaat prayer as insignificant, which is, by the way, it's a problematic thing, friends. And if we have to pray at home, at least we should have been guilty and say, astaghfirullah, right? If the masjid is within 10 minutes drive, we should go to the masjid and pray all prayers in the masjid, Hassan. So likewise, if somebody considers, insignificant praying Jummah prayer, when sometimes he goes, sometimes he does not, and he leaves 3 consecutive. As I said, hadith does not say consecutive. This is what the fiqh of it is. This is what fuqaha have put in, that this is what it means. A'udhu billah. If Allah Ta'ala puts seal on anybody's heart, nobody in the world can guide him. Nobody. Man yudlilillahu fala hadiya lahu. Whoever Allah Ta'ala misguides, then nobody can guide him. Nobody. You can give him like a 100-hour lecture, it won't help. Please, if there are people around you who are not praying Friday prayers, you have to wake them up. Please do tawbah. Start going for Friday prayers. Don't consider that insignificant. Of course, you should be praying all prayers. Alright, so what to do on Friday? Prophet said, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that the taking of bath on a Friday is mandatory for every Muslim who has attained the age of puberty. For on every baligh, he should take ghusl on that day, and also cleaning of his teeth with miswak. Yani clean your teeth, toothbrush is fine, and using of the perfume if it is available. This is muasharat. Again, I was telling muasharat of sitting in the front and not blocking people's pathways. Likewise, I should not be stinking. I should not be stinking in the mouth, my body, my clothes. I should take a bath, properly clean my teeth, put on a perfume that is appealing to others, so that nobody feels any sort of harm from me. That's the whole point, because we're all sitting together. Acha, one more thing. So people can question, why are these ahadith only for Friday prayers? It could have been for every prayer, right? There were almost 9 masajid other than Masjid al-Nabawi in the time of the Prophet ﷺ around Medina. So as I said, this city was small, and there was a village here, a village there, a village there, a village there, a village there, and the furthest village was Qubba. 9 masajid altogether. People were praying generally in their quote-unquote hometowns, because they were walking, right? So walking an hour is about 30 minutes. It's not easy for every prayer. Right? 30 minutes coming, 30 minutes going, praying it. So all day they will be just coming back and forth. So they had their masajid. Jummah only happened in Masjid Nabi. None of the other masajid had Jummah. So this is now technically it's called Jami' Masjid, in which Jummah happens. Not every masjid should be a Jami' Masjid. It is not a good practice, ideally speaking, that Jummah is happening in every masjid. I'm not talking Sydney, because there are already very few masajid, but in a Muslim world, you go to Turkey, you have a masjid, and every 10 minutes walk, you find a masjid. Literally, you walk 10 minutes and there's a masjid. You walk another 10 minutes there's a masjid. There's 10 minutes here, there's a masjid. Of course, then people will be all split. In one masjid will be maximum 20, 30, 40 people. And it can accommodate, say, 1,000 people. So Jummah should not happen in every masjid. So there should be a Jami' Masjid where the people of the neighborhood gather together and pray Jummah there. But of course, Sydney, you need more masajid actually, right, for Jummah prayers. So not talking Sydney. I'm talking like a place, a Muslim country where there are lots of masajid. So because there was a bigger crowd on Jummah, so imagine, there are 10 people stinking versus 500 people stinking. Oh my God. And I get headaches, honestly. I'm very sensitive to smell. Very sensitive. I start getting headaches. Even so much so that, I was traveling with Shadad Bhai, and there was an air freshener. So, I'm so sensitive to even these. After some time I said, no, every once in a while I was opening the car window, letting the fresh air come in, and then I said, what, I have to take it off. So some people are very sensitive to smells, very sensitive. So imagine that they did not have deodorants, they did not have and they were wearing clothes. We were not very, very intricate as well, wearing wool, literally, how should I say that? Unprocessed sheep wool. Imagine, oh my God. And if it rains, Sahaba said so. Sahaba said that if it would rain, then we used to smell sheep. Subhanallah. Because that was not processed. So imagine, how much would it stink? Prophet ﷺ said, take a bath, make sure that you don't hurt anybody. Take a bath, put on the best perfume, make sure your teeth are clean. So they are all sunnahs of a Friday. Not a fard. Ghusl is not fard. Initially it was fard. That's another thing. Initially the masjid's roof, Masjid Nabi roof was very low. So Prophet ﷺ made ghusl fard at that time. Then there was a renovation that happened and the roof was taken a little higher. So then Prophet ﷺ gave an allowance that if you want to do ghusl, it's better. But if somebody does not do ghusl and only does wudu, that is also fine. But initially he made it fard. Everybody must do ghusl. Nobody comes without ghusl. Look at how much Prophet ﷺ was thinking about people. Nobody should harm just because of his body odors. Prophet ﷺ said in the hadith in Sahih Bukhari, whoever takes a bath on Friday, purifies himself as much as he can, then uses his oil. So oil, people used to put oil as adornment. Now, we don't do that anymore. Or perfumes himself with the scent of his house. Then proceeds for the Friday prayer and does not separate two people sitting together in the masjid. So, people are sitting, crossing over them. Don't do that. So in other words, again, do not hurt anybody. Then prays, ثُمَّ يُصَلِّ مَا كُتِبَ لَهُ. Then he prays as much as Allah has written for him. And then remains silent. Don't talk. While the Imam is delivering the khutbah, his sins in between the present and the last Friday would be forgiven. Allahu Akbar. Look at the virtue of Friday prayers. But with all of these etiquettes, don't hurt anybody, don't harm anybody, don't smell bad. Make sure that you are not, you sit, you don't cross anybody, cross in a way that you don't harm anybody, because sometimes you hit people while you're crossing. Don't harm anybody. And of course, if people are sitting in the back and there is space at the front, of course you have to cross them. But that's not their problem. Why did they sit at the back? Of course, I have to go in the front. I can see the whole masjid empty, so that's their problem. But say masjid is full and there is no space. Still, I'm trying to, I'm hurting people unnecessarily. If I have to cross, make sure that, we are not harming, hurting, not hitting, not kicking anybody. So with all of these etiquettes, and sits silently, listens to the khutbah, his sins for the past week are forgiven. And all of these virtues, fuqaha have said, are for minor sins. So whenever Allah Ta'ala, Prophet ﷺ said, sins will be forgiven for this, for that, they're all minor sins. For major sins, we have to make tawbah. And there's a list of what minor sins are, what major sins are.